Guys, I'm here to tell you your Black History fact or teach you your Black History fact of the day. We're going to talk about Nat Turner's revolt, which was August 1831. So, in August 1831, Nat Turner struck fear into the hearts of white Southerners by leading the only effective slave rebellion in the U.S. Born on a small plantation in Southampton County, Virginia, Turner inherited a passionate hatred of slavery from his African born mother and came to see himself as anointed by God to lead his people out of bondage. Listen, who the hell wants to agree to slavery, especially how my people were treated? So, of course, in the early 1831, Turner took on in August 21st, he and a small band of followers killed his owners, the Travis family, and set off toward the town of Jerusalem, where they planned to capture an armory and gather more recruits. The group, which eventually numbered around 75 black people, killed some 60 white people in 2 days before armed resistance from local white people and the arrival of the state military forces overwhelmed them just outside Jerusalem. Some 100 enslaved people, including innocent bystanders, lost their lives in the struggle. Turner escaped and spent 6 weeks on the run before he was captured, tried, and hanged. Okay. Whew. Now, the killing of the hundreds of white people, sparked a wave of anxiety across the South. Several states called special emergency sessions of the legislature, and most strengthened their codes in order to limit the education, movement, and assembly of enslaved people. While supporters of slavery pointed to the Turners' Rebellion as evidence that black people were inherently inferior barbarians, requiring an institution such as slavery to discipline them, the increased repression of Southern black people would strengthen anti slavery feeling in the North through the 1860s and intensifying the regional tensions building towards civil war. This is crazy. You're going to tell me because you're enslaving people, you're mistreating people, you're sex-ing people, you're stealing people kids, you rip people from their countries, their lands, their villages, everything that they know, took them across the world in ships, packed them up like sardines, people pissing and boo-booing, ministrating on people, half of the people dying by the time they get to wherever you guys are about to have them enslaved or sell them. And you're going to tell me that we're barbarian because we don't want to be treated like that. We don't want to be abused. You guys will whip us until we bleed and you guys will pour substances on us to cause infections. You guys have breeding plantations on top of that. You guys were and little girls, women, all of that. On top of that, you was cheating on your wives with the slaves, which made even hatred between the wife and the female slave. Like, so y'all think it's sick? We're sick and we're barbarian because we don't want to be treated like that? That's wild. It's the audacity for me. Okay, so less than 24 hours after the revolt began, the rebels encountered an organized resistance and were defeated at James Parker's farm. Following this setback, Turner and other rebels scrambled to reassemble their forces. Okay, so this is breaking it down a little bit more. The next day, a series of defeats led to effective end of the revolt. White people quickly and brutally reasserted their control over Southampton County, killing roughly 36 black people without trials. Within a few days of the revolt, right leaders in Southampton became increasingly confident that the revolt had been suppressed and working to limit the extra legal killing of black people. Instead, white leaders made sure that the remaining suspected rebels were tried, which also meant that white enslavers would receive compensation from the state of condemned enslaved people. So basically, if they were found guilty, the state was going to give them money because we were considered property. Okay. That was considered a loss if they were going to execute us. Ultimately, 30 slaves and one free black man were condemned to death. Of these, 19 were executed and 12 had their sentences commuted by Governor John Floyd. Turner himself eluded capture throughout September and into October when two enslaved men spotted him close to where the revolt began. Once detected, Turner was forced to move and was unable to elude the renewed manhunt. He was captured on October 30th. While in jail awaiting trial, Turner spoke freely about the revolt. Local lawyer Thomas R. Gray approached Turner with a plan to take down his confessions. The Confessions of Nat Turner was published within weeks of the Turner's execution on November 11th, 1831. Okay. The revolt had important ramifications outside of Southampton as Southern communities feared additional revolts. In Richmond, Thomas Jefferson Randolph, the grandson of Thomas Jefferson, tried but failed to convince the General Assembly to enact a plan that would have put the state on the path to gradual emancipation. See, they knew. But we already know Thomas Jefferson was down with the swirl, okay? Anyways, but not all his family. Abolitionists remembered the revolt as an important example of both enslaved people's hatred for the system of slavery and their bravery. The cultural legacy of the revolt is still vibrant. The revolt remains the clearest example of overt resistance in the United States to the system of slavery. Turner's executioners delivered his body to doctors for dissection, and they lied and said that he agreed to it. And then I also read something too that I don't know, he got a reward for, agreeing to have his body dissected, and he used the money on ginger cakes. Listen, that's just what I found. I don't know. We're gonna say allegedly because that sounds crazy. Let's see. Then, according to William Sidney Drury, a Virginia-born history professor, the physicians flayed the black man's corpse and used his skin to make a coin purse. Afterward, they boiled the remaining flesh to make grease. The famous remedy of the doctors of antebellum days, castor oil, was long dreaded for fear it was old Nate's grease. Drury noted in his 1900 book, The Southampton Insurrection, and it is doubtful if the prejudice has entirely died out among the old darkies. So that is a little bit of information. I also read too that not only was Nat Turner allegedly skinned, they also said allegedly he was eaten. They ate parts of him. And then I was reading other stories too that Southerners and just people that were in the slave trade, they were into cannibalism. They were eating us. I'm gonna say allegedly, especially if ships like shipwrecked and things like that, they begin eating, the slaves and doing things to them. I also read too during my deep dive as well, some of the slaves masters, they would taunt the slaves and put seasoning on them. They would make them step on charcoal and make them walk on it like they were cooking them. People would put grease on them, oils on them, like to cook, and then taunt them and saying that they were going to eat them next. So that's just what I found with my research. But that's your Black History fact of the day.